friends. Happy Saturday. Welcome to Inside the Minds of Authors. I'm so excited you guys are joining us today. We're going live from a different location. As you guys can tell, I am not home. I'm doing an amazing event at Palooza this weekend, supporting the husband because, everybody's doing amazing things. But if you're joining us live from Facebook or YouTube, we're excited you guys are here. I have an amazing guest because it is Inside the Minds of Author, the podcast dedicating to bring you incredible authors with incredible books. So I'm thrilled today you guys are joining us. If you are new, don't forget to subscribe. The podcast is live, so you can subscribe to the YouTube channel as well as the Facebook you guys get to pick. So make sure to join us. We have amazing authors bringing incredible books they're passionate about. So we're glad you're joining us. So let's bring our guests because that's why you guys all here to see us. So hello, madam. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Great to be here.
It is such a pleasure to have you. I am excited you are joining us. And we're going to kick off because our listeners and viewers are here to see what is your book about. So Miss Lisa, I am turning it over to you. Welcome.
Thank you. So I have a book. I'll show you what it looks like. It is called The Shape of What Remains. And it is a story. It is one woman's story about long grief. And you might think that might be a very depressing story, but she's actually very assertive, kind of snarky, and I think it saves it from being a depressing read. And it is mostly about her journey to get back to being more functional after going through one of the worst things a person can go through. She loses her 6-year-old daughter in a tragic accident, and that is not a spoiler because the book actually opens 10 years later. So I'm going to read you a couple of excerpts from the book and give you just sort of a sense of her voice, because her name is Teresa Calvano, and this is Teresa's story. She really owns the book. And you really get inside her mind and get to see what she thinks. And I know this to be true because she kind of lived in my brain for about 8 years as I was writing this book. It was a long journey. So I'm going to read a little bit at the beginning. This is chapter 1. At first, there were pharmaceuticals, Prozac and Zoloft. Elevate those serotonin levels. Chemicals to rearrange my brain after I retrieved a blood-spattered Dora Explorer lunchbox from the road. I don't like how the drugs make me feel, I told Luke after I tapered off of them. His lips were a thin line. Wrong answer. The problem was I wanted the pain. It was my monument to Serena, better than the granite marker Luke put in our garden next to our yellow rosebush. Serena Joy Calvano, beloved sister and daughter. My grieving group said a physical marker would give me a place where I could sit and talk to her. I knew she wasn't there. Her ashes scattered in the ocean off Cape Cod on the boat ride we took 10 summers ago. We moved that marker twice, always planting a yellow rose bush next to it since Serena loved roses and the color yellow. Each day I would set up a list for myself and promise to accomplish 2 things, even if one of them was getting out of bed. I was trying to finish my book, but I would have gladly abandoned my papers and sworn off research for one more walk in the woods with her. Once we uncovered a robin's nest with a cracked blue egg. When we picked it up, a little piece fell away. She carried that piece of eggshell in her pocket, wrapped in a Kleenex, and brought it to first grade. So that's the very beginning of the book. And she has an older son named Wyatt, and Wyatt is in his first year of college. Um, and just so you have that reference. So, and her husband Luke has kind of moved on, so their marriage is not one you would say is very good at this point. It's very difficult. She suspects he's having affairs. So I'm going to read you a little bit about her relationship with Luke. This is chapter 5. We're on day 3 of Let's Be Nice to Teresa, or shall I call it playing at marriage? I don't wear my wedding ring anymore. It's in my jewelry box, which I suppose is stupid because it would be the first thing to be stolen if someone broke into the house. Officer, it is a 14-carat band of 4 diamonds. I could sell it, go on a vacation, maybe a Mediterranean cruise. Luke tries again with a speech about how he hasn't been a good husband. Definition of a good husband according to a Google search: someone who stays with you through the most difficult times. Define stays with you. Someone who wants to grow old with you. Define old. Someone who is generally happy alongside you no matter what happens. Define happy. Someone who loves you for who you are, your unique personality and lifestyle. Define love. I like the last one because it is so inclusive. And number two, the growing old one, Ted Beamer, long married, seemingly loyal and contented until he took up with a 20 something. Ted isn't an academic, he's our auto mechanic. He moved in with Veronica, Vanessa, Victoria, whatever the hell her name was, and they were blissful for maybe 4 months before she figured out that a 59-year-old wasn't as exciting as a 20 something or 30 something. What does he do? He talks Sybil into taking him back. Not me. I wouldn't take Luke back. I'd have sold the house by the time he asked. So, gives you a little sense of her, what I call kind of a snarky voice, which I think kind of saves this from being a very depressing read. Um, so, her son Wyatt has his first girlfriend, which is a typical thing for a college freshman to have, and also typical. It doesn't last very long. So I'm going to read you just another short excerpt about him telling her that Belle is the name of the girlfriend, broke up with him. Did Grandma tell you that Belle broke up with me? I don't want to lie to him. Yes, I'm so sorry. Wyatt is trying hard not to cry, maybe because of some code of manliness, or maybe because he knows, like I know, that emotion, once unleashed, is unpredictable. She said we were too young to be that serious. She wanted to date other people. I want to say, good idea, but I remind myself that I would have hated to hear that at his age. He was convinced she was the one, and he needs to grieve that she saw something he didn't see. Maybe cultural differences or his inexperience, or just that he wasn't what she wanted for the long term. Yeah, that must have been hard to hear. Yeah, it blows. She's the hottest girl on campus, so lots of dudes want to hook up with her. I stopped myself from chiding him for the blatant objectification of Belle. Let him rant. She was gorgeous and brilliant. Both Luke and I were stunned when he brought her home. Not because he's unattractive, but more that he was completely unversed in the cryptic ways people communicate attraction. The fact that it clicked at all was a minor miracle to both of us. Not only did he bring home a woman that no one could take their eyes off of, he brought home a woman with intelligence and social skills. In short, the whole package. Huge loss. We expected a breakup because 19-year-olds go through lots of blunders in the pursuit of sex and love. The fact that Belle initiated it wasn't surprising. She texted me. That was low. She said it was nice, which means boring, he says. I don't think nice is the same as boring, but I agree she should have told you face to face. It isn't respectful to break up in a text, I say. Nice means boring. What else could it mean? It means she liked you. She just wasn't ready for it to be more than that. I want to tell him that nice can mean agreeable, courteous, pleasant. Nice isn't exciting, but it isn't boring either. Wyatt may be clueless about women, but he's a quick learner. Think of telling him to get back on the horse, though that's a disgusting metaphor. Do you want to come to England? You could transfer, you know. Her husband is on a sabbatical semester in England. Soon as I say this, I regret it. Translation: you lost Belle, and there will never be another woman for you at a university with 20,000 students. What would he do? Drink tea? Meet Abby's friends? Go to pubs? What if I leave? He'd be alone with absentee father Luke. Luke could give him tips on how to get women. For a minute, I think Wyatt's going to go for it. The perfect out. It's a face-shaving measure to leave the country after being rejected. Then he does something I'll always remember, something that makes me unspeakably proud. No, if I went to England, I'd be running away. There's this girl I help in my programming class, thinking of asking her to the Misplaced Dragon concert on campus tomorrow night. You said you're ready to go back to work, and that's great. I'll be okay. So that's Wyatt. I don't know if I have time for one more short one. Let me just see. Do I have time for one more short one?
Of course,
Let's,
go for it, madame.
okay, so this is really toward the end of the book. And it, again, it's a story about long grief. So she goes through a lot of incarnations, and there are many, many surprises in this story. It has a lot of twists and turns. So if you're a reader that enjoys that kind of, I think I know what's going to happen. Whoops, I didn't know what was going to happen. This is a good book for that because there really are a lot of surprises. Um, so this is chapter 41. I used to love roller coasters. The dips and sheer speed made my stomach flip around and goosebumps form on my arms. On a roller coaster, I was the kind of person who would get in a fast car with a stranger, travel alone to a foreign country, or go skydiving. Once the ride was over, the ground seemed to move under my feet as if I'd been forever transformed. I wondered if people who live through earthquakes expect the ground to be unsteady, ready to shake any moment. After I had Wyatt, we left him with a friend and went to an amusement park. I dragged Luke to the roller coaster, a new feature that promised to turn us upside down and take us through long minutes of hairpin turns and dips at death defying speed. I checked my harness more times than necessary and felt the panic rising with the speed and simulated disaster. Exhilaration was replaced by scenarios of what might go wrong. I clenched Luke's hand. I'm too old for this, I told him, even though I was young. He led me to the water park where we floated in the lazy river and dodged waves in the wave pool. After an hour or so, we left earlier than planned. We had expected a return to an earlier time in our relationship, but it was not possible to get it back. All I could think of was the baby at home and a quiet dinner. We returned to roller coasters with Wyatt when he turned 10, a rare post Serena outing. He screamed and begged for a second run. A tiny piece of who I was once made a cameo appearance, and I waited in the long line with him 6 times. Your mother was crazy for roller coasters when I met her, Luke said. Yep, every chance I got till you were born. Why'd you stop? Wyatt's face was flushed with wind and excitement. It felt different, too real. It's just a ride, Mom. So that gives you a little sense of this family. And again, it's The Shape of What Remains. It is came out in February of this year, and it is the story of one woman and her journey back from long grief.
I love it. Congratulations on the release. Congratulations on the book. Let's talk
Thank
because
you.
I can't wait, Miss Lisa. I'm going to start with a question I usually ask every author. I need to know, where did this story come from? What gave you all these pieces to put it together? Because it's a powerful story. Tell us.
Yeah, so I wrote a short story. I have two collections of short stories. One is called Growing a New Tale, and the other is called Impossibly Small Spaces. In Growing a New Tale, there was a story called Monuments, and that was the beginning of this story. And I knew when I wrote the short story that this was a much longer story. I just didn't have the time to write it then. I just couldn't do it. But Teresa was in my head. She just wouldn't get out. So I jotted down notes and I put them aside, and life intervened and I got really busy because I am really busy. And then the time was right for me to do it. And I just plugged away at it. It literally took 8 years off and on. In between times, I'm also a poet, and I had a collection of poetry that came out in 2022. So it wasn't just doing that. And I teach and I do other things, but it stayed in my head. So finally, I decided it was time to, get it published, find a publisher for it, and get it out there. When I felt satisfied, it went through a bunch of readers, and lots of tweaks, as all writers do with their work. It was a long process, but she wouldn't quit. She was just in my head, and I knew she had a long story. And I thought, well, this story could be helpful to people too.
I love the fact that you kept yourself motivated and you kept going back to this story. Was it the characters that kept you going back, or how did you find the inspiration to go through 8 years and be like, yes, we're going to continue this path?
Well, the way that I write, and I call it method writing, like method acting, is that the character lives in my brain, and she was fully developed, and she had her own voice, and she did things I didn't want her to do. I mean, and all writers experience. I think, no, don't do that. That's really stupid. But I couldn't control her. Yes, I'm the writer, but we only have a certain amount of control because she had to be true to her character, and she was. So she does make a lot of mistakes, but she just wouldn't leave me alone. She was nagging. She was in my head, and her story needed to be told. And I know that sounds really weird. I remember doing a class at a college once, and the professor introduced me as, "Oh, this is my friend Lisa, and characters live in her head." So makes me sound a little weird, and maybe I am, but she really did live in my head, and that's true. I mean, I'm working on a new novel now, and it's kind of just my method. It's how I write. I have to really feel like I know everything about the character, and Teresa, I really did.
How do you bounce back between novels and poems? Because they're very different structure. There's a different whole process between the two of them. How do you balance them back that you get the essence of both, or do they cross over for you? How does that work?
Well, I've been told that this book really shows that I my training as a poet, because it's very lyrical. I do pay a lot of attention to description and images and things like that are do come up in my fiction. I don't go back and forth like in a day. I won't like write a poem and then work on a novel. I generally speaking make a decision what I'm going to work on each day. So if I'm working on, like, I'm working on a novel right now, that's pretty much what I'm doing. Although I did just travel to Ireland to have launches for a poem that was in an Irish anthology. So I did write poetry, in the last few months. I have done that. So, if I'm having a day where I don't have a lot of time, I might go back and try to revise some poems. It takes a lot longer chunk of time for me with fiction. I have to really allocate a certain amount of time, and I do try to work on my writing every single day for a period of time. I try to be pretty disciplined about it, because it's easy to get, if you get out of the writing habit, it's really easy to let it go. Am I perfect? No, I'm not perfect at all. I can be talked out of it if there's something really fun that I might want to do. So
Do you have an outline, or are you what we consider a pantser? Like, how does that process come for you?
I, yeah, I do not outline. I just don't like the word pantser, so I call it method writing.
I love it.
But it's the same thing. I do write by the seat of my pants. I'm an ardent reviser. This book probably went through 20 revisions, and that may be even conservative. So yes, I write fast and put it all out there, but a lot of it, there was an entire part of the book that I deleted, because I realized this is like ridiculous. It was like way too much therapeutic stuff, and I just got rid of it all. And it was probably a good thing. I think it made it a stronger book. So I'm kind of a cut and slash person. I can do that, and I need to do that. And I also depend on beta readers, which are early readers who really are helpful, and they come from different demographics, which also is helpful. Like one of them really helped me with like the gender stuff and the college age. Obviously, I'm not a college age kid, and that language and that mentality. I needed some help with that, so that was really useful to just update that, to have the different characters have different voices. Just one of the challenges of fiction is that your characters have different voices.
I
I
was
think
going to.
that's,
That's
yeah.
perfect. I was going to ask you how much research you did in your books. So you kind of hinted at it. You have a lot of beta readers to give you some. How much personal research you also do to get all those pieces together?
I absolutely adore research. I love it. I'm a kind of a research nerd. So yes, I did a lot of research. I did a lot of research on grieving. I reference different grieving groups, Compassionate Friends being the one that helps parents who have lost children. The secret story about me is that I actually had an 18-year career in counseling. So I have that background. Then I went back and got an MFA and made my career as a writer and a college professor and all of that. But I have that background. I've always been really interested in it. And I also consulted with psychologists, and I really like using experts. I mean, the book I'm working with now has a legal bend to it, and I've consulted with lawyers. So yes, I like that, and I love doing research. I really, really love. There was quite a bit on the web about Compassionate Friends, and I do reference them in my acknowledgments as a really good place for people to go who have lost kids. And it can be adult kids, it can be a miscarriage. All of those things are losses, and they're hard. And they were really great. I asked their permission to use a quote from their website, and they gave me permission to do that.
That
So
is
yeah,
perfect.
research is great.
So when you're looking at the book, and you've been getting all this amazing feedback, what is one thing you want your readers to get out of the book?
I want them to really feel hopeful. I
Okay.
feel like I just finished a 22 stop book tour. And pretty much at every place that I stopped, there was somebody that came up to me and said, I have a loss like this, or I had a loss like this, or my friend had a loss like this, and I'm getting the book for her or him. And I want it to be helpful for people. I want them to see that there is life after loss. It may be different life. And I think that's part of what I describe in the book, that the colors may not be as vivid, but you can still have a really fulfilling life. You never really, in my personal opinion, is you never really get over the loss of a loved one. You move on and you have your life, but you never get over it. You never forget it. So that's kind of what I hope people take away, is that there is life after loss, and it can be very fulfilling.
Ooh, I love it. All right, so you mentioned you have another novel you're working on, and because we're all friends here, we need to know, what are you working on? Can you tell us? Or is this a secret project you can give us a lot of information about? What is it? What do you have going on?
Yeah, so it's again a novel born of another short story. There were only two short stories of all the books, short stories I've written, and I've published two collections that I knew would be novels. Since this is the second one, it's entirely different from this one. It is told in two voices, a man and a woman. It's a kind of a love story, but a really kind of very complicated one, of two childhood friends who meet again 20 years later at his mother's funeral. The man is half Vietnamese, and his mother, who was Vietnamese, just died. And the woman, he's a lawyer who defends the criminally insane. He left corporate law to do that because he thinks it's an important thing to do. And she's a social worker for foreign adoption, and they literally hadn't seen each other in 20 years. So, and it's really complicated. He's also responsible for his younger sister now because his mother has died, and he's the only other sibling, and she's mentally ill. So, I consulted a lot of experts on this, not just psychologists, doctors, and also lawyers. People who are trying to get criminally insane people moved from jail to a forensic hospital, which is a big difference. If somebody's like schizophrenic and they're hearing voices and they commit a crime, having them in a jail, they're going to get, it's going to be really dangerous for them. They are the oddball. I mean, not that it's safe for anybody. It's not, prison is not the greatest environment, but for somebody who's really crazy like that, it's really dangerous. So that's what he does. He's really dedicated to it. And it's a dangerous job. He gets a lot of death threats. So this is a bit more, has a little bit more of a kind of thriller component to it, even though it's absolutely not a thriller. It's still literary fiction, but there's definitely danger is always lurking in this book. And I'm done with it. I just am never, like the other one, I'm never satisfied, and I don't feel like it's perfect yet. So I haven't really shopped it around, aggressively. But I will. As soon as I'm done with the writers' conference that I co-direct, which is coming up in July. So,
Ooh, you
yeah.
have a packed schedule, so I'm so glad you're taking the time to talk to us. So, what advice would you give an up and coming author? Whether they're going from poet to novel or just wanting to start, what would you tell them?
Don't give up and learn to make friends with rejection. I think that's the hardest thing for writers, is that, we could paper our walls with rejections. Everybody I know, really well published award winning writers, could paper their walls with rejections. Some people can handle it and some people can't. And we all know writers, I have one in my life, that just gave up after getting rejections. And I think you can do that. It's your choice to never publish or self-publish, but rejection does not mean that you're a bad writer. It can mean it's not a good fit. It can mean they're not reading stuff like that right now. You didn't do your research, and or it can be any number of things that has nothing to do with your writing quality. And the more you write, the better you're going to get at it. So I think if you really want to be a writer, don't give up and make friends with rejection. Be proud of your rejections. It shows you're sending work out.
That is such a good advice, and I think sometimes people just don't think about it that way and they get overwhelmed. So I love it. Miss Lisa, it's been a pleasure chatting with you, but I need to know, where can people learn more about you? Where can they find the books? I know we have the links in the comments, but tell us where they can learn more about this book and your work.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a website. It's lisactaylor.com. Please visit my website. You can connect with me through the website. It connects to email. I'm on Instagram, I'm on Blue Sky, and I'm on Facebook. So I do try to interact, and I do have a Substack, although it's called Literary Imaginings, although I do confess that I'm not terribly religious about putting out new things because I've been really busy lately, but I will try to be better about that. So any of those places, lisactaylor.com is the best place to find me and know my schedule and what I'm up to. I will be in Denver for some readings in the coming months.
Love it. All right, madam, before you leave us, are you ready for the lightning round?
Sure, I didn't know what that was, but I'm ready for it.
Super easy. Don't think too hard on these. This is a kind of fun. So granted, we are talking about very emotional topics. We're going to wrap it up a little lighter. So let's see how you do. Easy peasy.
Okay.
Pepsi or Coke?
Say that again?
Pepsi or Coke?
Neither. I don't drink soda.
Okay. What is your beverage of choice?
Probably sparkling water, or I'm a real coffee addict, so coffee, really good coffee.
I'm a tea
Bit of a
fanatic.
snob about it.
I love it. All right. Next one. Spicy or sweet?
That's a really hard one. I don't really like either that much. I think I like slightly spicy. I would go for that over sweet.
Okay. Ebooks or print?
I read ebooks when I travel, and I travel a lot. So, but I like hard books when I'm not traveling. In fact, I'm reading a really good one right now. So,
I like it. Sunny days or rainy?
rainy, and I live in a place of pretty much 95% sunshine. I live in Colorado where it's sunny all the time. I'm a like cloudy days, rainy days kind of girl.
Thank you. You're the first person who says it because I'm with you right there. So thank you. So here's a little different. Let's see how you do. If your life had a theme song, what would it be?
Let it go.
I like that. Miss Lisa, it has truly been a pleasure you joining us. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for taking time out of your schedule. Do you have any closing remarks for us?
No, I've just been a real joy to be here. A lot of fun, and I really appreciate you taking me on and talking about my book. I love talking about literature and books, and I really look forward to anybody contacting me. I really do try to engage with people who have questions, and I love book groups too. Book groups are really fun. So if anybody's interested in that, please contact me. But thank you again. This has been wonderful.
It's been an absolute pleasure, and thank you so much. Congratulations on the book. Thank you for joining us. To our viewers, thank you so much for joining us again at Inside the Minds of Authors. We're bringing you amazing authors with incredible books. Go ahead and pick up Miss Lisa. Make sure to enjoy, give her a review, give us some likes. And as you're here, make sure to subscribe to the podcast. You don't want to miss out. The podcast recordings will be going out at the end of the month, so you can catch up. You can find them on my website, YouTube, as well here on Facebook. So looking forward to, if you're joining us live, I'll be back in about 30 minutes with another amazing author. So stay tuned, pick up another amazing book, and have a fabulous Saturday. Thank you guys. See you guys soon.